Welcome to Empower Wyandotte. I'm your host, Jessica Schmidtberger, a third-year doctoral occupational therapy student at the University of Kansas Medical Center in Kansas City, Kansas. In this space, we jump into meaningful conversations about the systems around us and what's affecting health in our community so we can step more confidently into conversations and action in our own communities. Today, we have Kitana Lemus, the current Community Engagement Manager at Crosslines Community Outreach, an organization serving people affected by poverty in Kansas City, Kansas, on the podcast. Kitana has her Bachelor's of Science in Media, Culture, and Communications, and she offers unique perspective as someone who grew up in Wyandotte County and currently leads the safe and affordable housing portion of the Community Health Improvement Plan here in Wyandotte County. Today, she and I discuss how housing and other social determinants of health impact our community, what it means to be an involved and informed community member, and how we can improve in those roles in our day-to-day lives. At the end of this episode, I will provide some resources and information that connects this discussion with evidence so we can all move forward from this conversation confident in what we learn. Thanks for being here. Here's Kitana. So in every conversation we've had, I've always feel like you've challenged me to check myself on my beliefs, how I interact with my environment, how I interact with my community, and how I'm supporting those environments, my community, with my time, my money, and to look into how other people are doing the same. So that includes on a national level, on a state level, on a community level, just in every way. I feel like you have a really broad perspective that you bring. You're from Wyandotte County, you go to New York for school, you have this well-rounded educational experience, and you come back here and you're serving your community. And now you bring a really good perspective on like context and environment in Wyandotte. And in your role at Crosslines, you have been really involved in the Community Health Improvement Plan, or the CHIP, and that's what we'll call it over the course of the rest of this conversation, the CHIP. And through that interest, I guess just where is your passion at in the CHIP, or how have you found yourself aligning with the CHIP here in Wyandotte?
Yeah. Do you want me to talk a little bit more about the CHIP?
Yeah, and maybe a little bit about the CHIP, and then specifically why it's important to you.
Yeah. So the CHIP is, our specific focus is within safe and affordable housing, although there are 5 focus areas. So I'll briefly mention them. Behavioral health, healthcare access, violence prevention, and jobs and education. And so we're safe and affordable housing, and it's all about creating quality, affordable housing throughout Wyandotte County through 5 mini focus areas that have their own strategies, right? So affordable housing units, cost burden for homeowners, safe and healthy rentals, tenants' rights, and then unhoused populations and homelessness.
So this circles back to the social determinants of health, right? Yes. Access to housing, access to different resources, funding, income. It all kind of ties in together to become this Community Health Improvement Plan, this CHIP.
Yes. So how
and we're focusing on housing.
Improving, those areas can then improve someone's life, which are exactly what you mentioned, the social determinants of health, right?
Sure.
So for me, when I first joined, I wasn't in the role that I am now. So it was really awesome to know that there was something like this in place to improve the overall quality of life for Wyandotte County residents. I was excited. I was excited to inform the people I grew up with that I'm still in contact with, to tell my siblings, to encourage them, to tell their friends, to just learn more and to get involved, to motivate them to know that there was a plan to improve the conditions of the county overall.
Absolutely. And that is really cool because you have been an active part of it, and not just bringing it to your work, but bringing it into your home life, supporting, this is a community initiative. It's not just a work initiative. It's a 24/7 thing, not just a 9-to-5 thing.
Yeah.
And I know a big part of the CHIP is those 3 lenses that we look at it through: racism, poverty, and trauma.
Correct.
And just kind of your perspective, how that has shifted maybe the experiences in Wyandotte of the safe and affordable housing sector of the CHIP.
Kind of a big question.
I know.
But I mean, when you think about it, so Wyandotte ranks 105 out of 105 counties when it comes to quality of life and health conditions.
In Kansas.
Yes, in the state of Kansas. We might be 104 out of 105 I don't exactly remember.
Somewhere down at the bottom.
Exactly. And, poverty is a direct marker of what you are able to afford in this life, right? Be it healthcare, be it behavioral health.
What you're able to access.
Yeah.
In a large way.
And of course, housing. And unfortunately, that's also reflected in the overall county.
Yeah.
And so racism also plays a huge factor. I think I would say like 50% of Wyandotte is immigrants. And
yeah, I can look into that statistic later and tag it in somewhere.
Yeah. And there are over, I know for sure, 50 to 60 languages spoken.
Yes.
Just in Wyandotte County alone.
Can confirm.
Yeah.
That's on the community health assessment.
Yeah. So racism does play a part, unfortunately. It's at a systemic level. I think even if there are people and individuals who want to do right by the people that they're serving, we work within a system that isn't there for the immigrant, isn't there for the person that isn't white, right? And then trauma, well, we all experience trauma on a big range. And that informs then like what we accept later in life, and what we accept now in life. And I think when you think about housing, right, the obvious one is poverty, housing and poverty, like living in a poor, upkept home. Racism is like what you're able to ask of your landlord, depending on who that landlord is.
Sure.
And then trauma is knowing that you deserve better than what you've been given. And you don't have to accept this quality of life, but oftentimes you accept certain things because of what you've been through. And it doesn't let you see beyond that. So I think it is really important that all these aspects are always being taken into consideration. That informs the long-term strategies that fall within each focus area.
And I think traditionally we look at these three things as maybe having a negative connotation or something, but we can still push looking through these lenses in maybe like a neutral or a strengths-based light of, okay, these are experiences. How are we going to bring the voices of people who are going through these experiences in a different way than maybe I am to the table?
It's an impetus
to shape,
like a force, right, that shapes
how
choices are made, right? Because if we didn't take them into consideration, more likely than not, we would be repeating history.
Yeah.
Without meaning to.
Right.
Even if we are trying to go about it a correct way, I think it's important to include the lenses because otherwise we fall into biases, right? Because we all have them. We're raised in a racist capitalist society, so whether or not they're embedded in us unconsciously or consciously.
Yeah, we're all having different experiences of, I guess, what has been ingrained into us through the social and cultural lenses that we've been brought up with too.
Yeah.
Right?
Both implicitly and explicitly.
Yeah. Inwardly, outwardly, on purpose or not on purpose, we express these things. Yeah. So kind of to shift gears a little bit, what has made you want to be an involved member of your community? What has made you want to support this initiative, want to be an engaged member of the community?
So now my role is different. Now I do lead the meetings and I take it on. But on a personal level, I grew up in Wyandotte. I grew up with two parents who are both immigrants. I grew up with just a perspective on life that things are not fair, that you have to jump through certain hoops depending on who you are. And I was very lucky. I got exposed to a lot of really cool opportunities as a kid, as a child.
Sure.
Because my mom, really took the initiative to look out for us and involve us in certain things. But I just truly believe that people deserve the best because the best is available to us. And we are the ones who create those limits and barriers. We are the ones who structure the society. And I think what the chip offers and what makes me excited is that it allows us to imagine a different future. It allows us to imagine what does restructuring look like.
Yeah.
And it's powerful because the chip, like you mentioned earlier, it's not just at the county level, but in order to make some change, we have to go to the state level. And who knows? I mean, even the stuff that we're doing at the state level would be cool federally, right? But
that's down the line. That's down the road.
But yeah, just wanted to make that connection.
Yeah, I think too, what you said, looking at what could be, but also looking at what is and then seeing attainable steps. Like it is breaking these big dreams, these big concepts down into what can we do on a day-to-day basis as community members to meet the goals and the needs of our community. And I think, it's not just living in the future, like it's not some out there idea, but it's, okay, where are we at right now? We did a community, or not we, the unified government did a community health assessment to assess what the community thought and experienced as needs as far as their health goes. That's violence prevention. That's all the different categories that you listed. And yeah, I think that is what's so cool, is because what is listed in that community health assessment on the unified government's website are current experiences of the community. So we're working within that right now, and it's not just some out there dream, but it's what's happening right now.
And can I share a frustration?
Please share.
So my conundrum when I first joined, and my frustration was, it is a lot to take on, not just safe and affordable housing, every focus area. And it frustrated me because I was like, not enough people know, not enough people are really truly believe and want to take on this work. And I feel frustrated because I'm like, this work is important because it would benefit all of us. And there's so many of us that are in our various organizations that have partnered on and joined the CHIP, and we're burnt out. You know, we are not just doing CHIP work, we're doing our own everyday responsibilities that we have at our job. And it befuddles me because I'm like, if we did accomplish, you know, some of the stuff in the CHIP, it would make all of our lives easier.
It should be a community initiative.
And so by taking it on, by accepting it, by implementing certain things, right, in theory, it would then make certain jobs of other people's lives easier if these services were at the level that they needed to be operating. But they're not, and that's okay, because a lot of us who do the CHIP work do believe in it and have done it before it was labeled CHIP. Right? But sometimes I get frustrated because I see that this could have a great benefit. It would take a lot of stress off people's lives. It would remove certain responsibilities, certain barriers. But what does that also do is it restructures things, right? And so unfortunately, I'm gonna pivot a little into a tangent. I'll be short about it.
I'll crank us back if we need.
But like, nonprofits are often band-aids to services that the government should be providing. Right? Yeah. Unfortunately, I think nonprofits do a great job, but the services that they provide should be something that we as a society should already offer to individuals. And so when you are creating these initiatives that would then enable people to be successful, to stand on their own 2 feet, to not longer have to turn to these services, it is a question of how are we then restructuring society when we lose out on these services that ultimately function on a capitalist level. So that's where I'll end it. But I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. I think something that I heard you say was actually being involved is really, really important. And there are all these people who are part of these nonprofit organizations who have this role in their job, this additional role in their job, not just their job, but this additional role in their job to support the CHIP. How can a person who's a member of a community who's maybe listening to this right now get involved with CHIP work, with supporting their community, supporting this restructuring, supporting moving toward the goals of the community that the community identified?
Attending meetings, just understanding what's going on.
How do they find out about meetings?
So if you go to the UG's website,
the Unified Government's website.
Yes. Thank you.
No, I just didn't know what the UG was until recently. So
that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you type in, you could literally type in UG CHIP, so UGCHIP, and it should be the first link.
Okay.
And so there should be the website of each organization. You can also connect with someone there and ask them, and they'll point you in the right direction.
And we can maybe find out who the lead agency is for each.
It's listed on there.
Okay, cool.
So that's a good way to find out. And most of us are really responsive. Like, we want people to get involved.
Great. So there are emails listed under each lead agency that I will put in the show notes so that people can reach out and contact if they're interested in getting involved and going to meetings and being a part of those. And that's on a local level again. And there are opportunities to learn and get involved at every level, right? So just looking into, if this is something that you're passionate about, looking into what is going on in your community or statewide or however, wherever your niche is. You know?
Yeah. And I will say, like, from my personal experience as someone who has always been really passionate about community and social justice and helping people, you know, realize their full power and potential, I had a lot of ideas. I had a lot of energy, but there's already people doing the work. you know? And so it's really important. And I had to accept that. Like, it's really important for me to sit down and like inform myself. Like, what are people already doing? Like, why am I going to push my energy into something, creating something totally new?
Don't reinvent the wheel.
When I can just support someone and in their work, and I can bring my idea and I can present it to them. And they might tell me, hey, that's great. Or, hey, that's something we can incorporate like later on down the line.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So, or that doesn't work because, and they show you something that you didn't even know was happening behind the scenes.
That has been mind-boggling, being here at Crosslines and thinking I had all these new and great ideas, and then, oh wait, these things are already happening. I get to jump in and fill in whatever gaps I can as an occupational therapy student, and that's where we're at, which is incredible. So thank you so much.
Of course.
I want to affirm some of the statistics that Kitana shared during our conversation, in that 65 languages are spoken in the Wyandotte County school system. And also about 18% of the population of Wyandotte County, so about 30,000 people in Wyandotte County, were not born in the U.S. And that does not include those individuals' children or their grandchildren. That just includes those people who were not born in the U.S. who are immigrants. So I think those two statistics just go to show the diversity of Wyandotte County, and the unified government of Wyandotte County even boasts itself on its Instagram as the Sunflower State's most diverse county. And if you're not from Kansas, we are known as the Sunflower State. So that is just a pride point for Wyandotte County. And as somebody who has only been a student here in Wyandotte County for 3 years, I can 100% agree with and hop on board with. It is a family-oriented, culture-oriented community. And it's also got a lot of history, and we can look into that. I will tag the community health assessment and the community health improvement plan that Kitana and I talked about over the course of this episode in the show notes so that you can have access to that. And I will leave you at that so that all curiosity is yours. But as always, I'm open for conversations about these topics, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode.